From Lockhart Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, welcome to the 2016 University of Miami Spring Game. And a very pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome inside the Hurricane Spring Game. I'm Joe Zagacki alongside Don Bailey Jr. And Don, the Mark Richt era is officially beginning. This is the conclusion of spring football with today's spring game. What should we expect?
Well, you should expect intensity on the football field, Joe. Offensively, you'll expect Brad Kaaya to look like Brad Kaaya. He's had a great spring so far. He's been excellent in the completion department, has thrown a lot of touchdowns, and is adapting to this new style of offense very efficiently. On the defensive side of the football, Manny Diaz has implemented that 4-3 defense. They're chasing the football. The expectation is everybody must know how to tackle if you're going to be a part of this Hurricane defense.
All right, we'll have the spring game. It's the orange against the green, and we're going to kick this thing off. Actually, we don't really have kickoffs, but we're going to have the orange against the green. That's all coming up right here from Lockhart Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, right around the corner. Back at Lockhart Stadium in Fort Lauderdale for this afternoon's spring game. Joe Zagacki with Don Bailey Jr. We're at Lockhart Stadium as Miami's normal stadium. Right now, the new Miami Stadium, that's what it's being called now. The old Sun Life Stadium is under construction. We do have sunny skies right now, but bad weather is expected here later this afternoon, so hopefully we will get today's spring game in. This is the green unit taking the field for the University of Miami. First on with Brad Kaaya. He'll be operating the green and the number one offense. One of the things that Mark Richt has said, let's not get caught up in all the play calls that he's looking for. Execution will be at a premium.
He really is, Joe, and we talked about it a little bit in our pregame show, how Coach Richt actually has pared down the offense and the defense. He wants the players to be secure in the play calling, and he wants execution. That is the focus today, is execution while he is implementing this new offense.
All right, so Brad Kaaya will take the first snap of the spring game for the University of Miami and the green team. And on first down, Kaaya gives it away to Walton, running over the left side and brought down by the big fella from Cardinal Gibbons High School, R.J. McIntosh, who has moved into that spot of defensive tackle and has played well here in the spring.
He certainly is, Joe. He's a big-bodied guy, got some reps last year, did not redshirt. He's got a frame that is suitable for that position, and both he and Norton are extremely athletic for defensive tackles.
McIntosh made 3 tackles a year ago on second down for Brad Kaaya. Second and about 7, looking to the right side, and he's got Braxton Berrios for a completion at the first down marker. That's good enough for the first down and brought down by Jermaine Grace. Mark Richt has said Braxton Berrios is the guy that is probably the most ready to play.
He is, and he provides leadership. Last year, he was ranked as one of the most important leaders on this football team. Unfortunately for Miami, he has suffered a knee injury early in the season, and it hampered his entire year.
Had 12 catches a year ago, had the big one in the bowl game, the Sun Bowl, which should have been called the Snow Bowl. It was a frigid day that afternoon in El Paso. On first down, Walton over the right side, and this time not much running room. Of course, the Miami offensive line, the right side, normally Sonny Adagwu would be there, and Sonny Adagwu not available during the spring. Let's go downstairs. Alex Dono is the third member on our crew, and Alex is on the sidelines.
Hey guys, as we're watching Brad Kaaya and this first team offense go to work, one Canes receiver we won't see this afternoon is Stacy Coley. Got a little nicked up in the second scrimmage last week. No pads on for Stacy. Saw him mingling with some fans, but we'll see the receiver depth beyond Stacy. We won't see him this afternoon.
All right, very good. That's Alex Dono from the sidelines. Here's Kaaya with a quick shot to Lawrence Cager to the 45-yard line of the defense. That's the orange team inside the 45 and brought down at about the 44-yard line as Jenkins is over there to bring him down.
You can see the 2 years of starting experience that Brad Kaaya brings into the spring game. That was a run-pass option. He went with Cager, saw the right alignment on the outside. Cager, a big-bodied receiver who Miami wants to get more yards after catch from this year. but he is a big target and made a nice catch for Miami's offense.
8 catches for 70 yards a year ago. Inside handoff to Walton. And he's brought down right away by Jermaine Grace, who I think really likes this new defense.
Oh, he does, and he's a guy that can roam free. He's a bit of a hybrid, Joe. They're going to treat him as he can cover receivers coming out of the backfield and backs coming out of the backfield. And also, he is good against the run. He is your leading returning tackler. Last year, he logged 79 total tackles on the season for Miami.
All right, so the green team operated by Brad Kaya, wearing a white jersey. That means don't hit him. But he's been under a lot of pressure during the spring. Defense has done a good job getting across the line of scrimmage. Walton gets free on a handoff. He's at the 40-yard line of the defense, the orange team, down to about the 35-yard line, maybe just short of the 35-yard line. And in there on the play is Corn Elder and Rayshawn Jenkins. And Miami's going to need a lot from those two guys, Jenkins and Elder.
That they are. When you look at Elder, he is a young man that was really tied to coverage last year. Manny Diaz, the defensive coordinator, made a point to say that the corners are going to be heavily involved in run stopping this year, and that's something where they will get support from the bench as well. You're going to have to get 4 corners ready for the entire season at minimum because of their effect in the run game.
Mark Walton has been the running back on this opening drive to the right of Kai, who's going to throw again for Cager, and poked away by Corn Elder. And we talked about Cager having to make those catches and be consistent and use that big body. There would be an example of it right there. He has to be a guy that can use his body as a shield.
You know, when you have long arms and you're that tall, especially with the arm length, when the ball is coming your way and you know that the corner is going to reach around, you've got to extend your hands, you've got to catch the football with your hands and then bring it in, not catch it with your chest. That gives the opportunity to the quarterback to knock it away.
There's a handoff by Kaya to Walton over the right side, and he's stacked up. Jamal Carter was first on the scene. Also, Kendrick Norton was in there, and that was a short yardage play. That was a 4th down play, and the offense did not convert. So that's all for the first team offense. Now will be the second team offense, and we'll take a look at who gets the first snap there. That's going to be one of the battles. Coach Rick says he knows who the second team quarterback is right now. He thinks he's got a good idea, but he's not going to let him know until the end of fall practice.
And I understand that. I mean, you want competition at that position. You want to make sure that every one of those guys goes into the meeting every single day trying to earn that spot.
Malik Rozier will take the snap. And Rozier last year was 29 out of 57. 338 yards, of course, had the great game against Duke. Here's a handoff to Gus Edwards. Big Gus. Gus barrels across the 40, picks up 6 yards, and is brought down at the 41-yard line.
Right there's a little bit of a difference in the offense from last year. Rozier, after the handoff, finished the play fake completely, sold pass to the secondary. The back is able to get past the linebacker positions. Because of the retreating defensive backs, there's more yards to be gained.
Now on a 2nd down handoff to Gus Edwards, he's able to avoid some contact, pick up a couple of yards, and brought down.
Mike Smith out of Northwestern penetrates, gets into the backfield. You're going to see a lot of linebackers threatening the line of scrimmage. They're involved in run stopping in every shape and form. They're going to be blitzed and switched around and run stunts and dogs and everything you can think of in this new Hurricane defense.
All right, it's 3rd and short now for the orange team. That's a handoff, and Gus Edwards has the first down. And he gets into the green territory to the 49-yard line and brought down by Trent Harris, who's in a battle to win that spot at the defensive end. He played everywhere last year. Toolbox Trent.
Well, Toolbox is an important part of this defense and this team. He does everything so well. Is he an elite athlete for that position? Probably not, but he certainly has an elite attitude where he's willing to work as hard as anybody and hone his skills daily.
Had 49 tackles last year. Rozier in the pocket, and he was going to run. There was pretty good pressure there. Miami works on the blitz every day in practice. I don't know how much we're going to see of that today, but every day they have a blitz drill.
And what's good about that is your offense now has to work on it every day because you have blitz pickup, and once you have a defense that is committed to that, one of the most important periods of any practice is blitz period because your offense is facing that blitz as well. So it actually hones the skills of both sides of the football.
All right, we got a 2nd down play now for Malik Rozier. And he gives it away to Gus Edwards over the right side, breaks a couple of tackles, and Edwards nearly picks up the first down, was able to shed a tackler or two. Jaquan Johnson was in the area for Miami, but Gus Edwards looking strong here early on. He's had a good spring.
He has. He's recovered from his injury of last year. He got a red shirt, missed the whole season, hurt that foot early in camp, and it might have suited him well. He had a year to mature and understand how much he missed the game. Sometimes that inspires players when they have to sit out a year on an injury.
Third and short, Rozier to throw, and it's incomplete. So an incomplete pass on third down, but now the Orange team probably in a place where they have to go for it. Let's see what Coach Richt is going to do. And we'll see if we continue the drive here. Otherwise, we'll take a commercial break, but it's going to be a fourth down play here for the Orange team. Darrell Langham is in the game. Fourth and short. Malik Rozier waiting for the snap. And we've got a penalty. I think the defense might have went early. Cortell Jenkins, this was a problem for Miami last year.
A big problem.
They were penalized last year. The University of Miami had 112 penalties for 82 yards a game. And that just gave the offense a first down.
That is something that has been discussed and talked about and trying to be repaired on a play-by-play basis. You had officials at every single practice during spring, coaching the players through their mistakes, and you also are responsible to do a little extra running if you're the cause of one of those penalties.
Rozier throws on first down for Dobard, incomplete. Jawan Young has been running second team. Those freshmen, Quarterman and Pickney, have done a good job. And Jawan Young, who made a lot of tackles last year, is really in a battle now.
You know, Young logged 57 tackles. He's the number 2 returning tackler for this Hurricane season. Big, thick guy. The thing is about they've put him to the weak side linebacker. He'll match up with that tight end extremely well, and he continues to get better at that position with the more reps that he gets.
Second down play, Gus the Bus inside the 30 and down to the 29-yard line of the green team, just short of the first down. Jaquan Johnson brings them down.
Jaquan Johnson got excess playing time, in my opinion, for a true freshman. Made some plays, was outstanding on special teams for Miami as a true freshman last year in 2015.
Got a third down situation here for the Orange team, 3rd down and 2. See what Mark Richt calls on 3rd and 2. He's going to give it to Gus Edwards, able to spin and dodge a couple of tacklers and get the first down and keep the drive going.
Well, Joe, at 3rd and 2, and you have a running back that's pushing 230, 235, it's the obvious. That's the guy that should get the ball. The offensive line needs to understand that they cannot allow penetration. They've got to get the movement that's expected on short yardage when you have a back of that size. And Gus, even if there's penetration, has got to break a tackle and make sure that he's able to move the chains.
So we have a first down for the Orange team on the move, and there's under heavy pressure. Malik Rozier's pass is knocked away at the line of scrimmage. That was Demetrius Jackson, who's one of the nicest kids you'll ever meet here at the University of Miami, from Booker T. And Demetrius getting in there, and if he can log some playing time this season at defensive end, I think he can really help this team.
Joe, I have to tell you, he's had an outstanding spring. He's really had a breakout spring ball. He's a guy that is getting to run up the field. He was a basketball player in high school, and he's worked on his development as far as his size and speed goes, and he brings a size and athleticism to that position, but he's developed that streak, and that front four needs it. And when I'm talking about, you got to have that mean streak and that aggressiveness when it comes to playing that defensive line.
Rozier throws to Darrell Langham, and Robert Knowles brings him down just short of the first down. Two guys that Miami might count on. They're short in the secondary, and they're short a little bit at wide receiver, and Langham's got to play up to his size.
That he does. Big-bodied guy, similar to Cager, maybe even a little bit heavier. He's had drop-itis a little bit through the early part of his career, and he's gotten better at that this spring.
Gus Edwards bounces it outside on a 3rd down play and carries the ball inside the 5-yard line. And it looks like Malik Rozier with the Orange team. They're on the march here and they could score first.
Gus Edwards does a nice job of getting to the perimeter and then bouncing it outside once again, but he stays in bounds, keeps his shoulders square, doesn't take the easy way out where he can duck out of bounds and avoid a hit, puts his shoulders down and tries to pick up an extra 2 or 3 yards.
So they move the ball now down to the 2-yard line. This is an area where Coach Richt, and Miami was not great in the red zone last year, but in particular inside the 5-yard line, they really struggled.
Well, this is a good time for big receivers and tight ends, and as we've mentioned many times already, a big back.
Hand off to Gus Edwards on the cutback, and brought down by Willis, does not get there. In the red zone last year, Miami scored touchdowns about 50% of the time, and in college football today, to be good, it's got to be 65 to 70.
A lot of self-inflicted wounds in that red zone last year. A lot of shoulda, woulda, couldas, and that's something that's got to be overcome. And you talk about Willis, he's the transfer from the University of Florida who sat out last season and was Scout Team Player of the Week almost every single week. He does a nice job of slanting and finding a crease. He's not oversized where he can attract a double team, but he certainly has the athletic skill to create problems with that quickness.
Gus Edwards on the handoff, barrels into the end zone for a touchdown for the Orange team. The Orange team scores first here at the University of Miami spring game. A nice drive put together by Malik Rozier. And Gus Edwards scores, got some good activity on that drive, carried the ball quite a bit. And Edwards puts it in the end zone for the touchdown. This is Brad Kaya as the green team is back out there. And Kaya on the pass to the near sideline. The Orange team scored first. They lead 7-0. Malik Rozier directed him right down the field with Gus Edwards banging it into the end zone for the opening score. And now the green team has to punt the ball away. Justin Vogel was last year's punter. And Vogel punting here will not have a return, but Vogel was a great weapon for the University of Miami last year. That's Braxton Berrios. So the Orange team will have the football one more time here with a 7-0 lead. Good drive put together by Malik Rozier, and this time here at Lockhart Stadium. Now we'll see Evan Sheriffs come in. And Sheriffs has had a really good spring and probably putting a lot of pressure on Malik Rozier and the others battling on for that number 2 spot.
Sheriffs redshirted last year out of the state of Georgia. Big, tall quarterback. I mean, NFL size. He's a 6'5", 6'6". He's gained some weight, and they've been bragging about his footwork and his attention to detail, where he's just trying every single day to pick up a little something that's going to help him compete for that number 2 spot.
I think we had a false start there. Oh, we had a timeout. Coming out of the timeout, we had a timeout. You always hate to see that, right? Now, Mark Richt, he's like, when you played in the schoolyard, you need the official quarterback because he's coordinating both sides.
He might have done that in high school, Joe, knowing him, right? The personality he has, he was probably that position from day one.
Trayon Gray is in the game as the running back now for the Orange team. And Gray's going to get a carry, and he's hit by Willis. And then Gordiner is in there as well, and Demetrius Jackson. How about Gerald Willis? What have we seen from him in the spring so far?
A lot. I mean, he's going to be a difference maker on this defensive front. Doesn't have that elite NFL size that they want in defensive tackles. He's in that 275 range. But he has an innate ability to find the gaps, and he's got quick hands, and he can accelerate instantly. He can get absorbed by big offensive linemen, Joe, in a double team. But if you face him one-on-one, he's the best pass rushing defensive tackle Miami has on the roster to date.
Sheriff's next pass was almost intercepted by Jaquan Johnson. Some talk about maybe if they needed an extra cornerback, maybe when the opposition goes to 3 or 4 wide. I think Jaquan Johnson can do a lot of things, but he's got a good sense for where the ball is.
Well, Sharif that time just eyeballs the receiver through the entire route, which helped Johnson get there a little bit early. He anticipated the throw and got the pass breakup.
This is a third down play now for Sheriffs, and here comes Willis chasing him, and that would have been a sack. Sheriff throws the ball into the ground all the way back at the 35-yard line.
Well, there was an example of what we were talking about, the acceleration that Willis has, and he's a guy that's hungry to hit a quarterback. Believe me, he doesn't want to honor the off-color jersey.
By the way, we're supposed to play 12-minute quarters. The scoreboard clock is not operational, so maybe you and I will be keeping track of the time. Oh, I think that we have one over here on the far side of the field. I take that back. I think we had 50 seconds left here in the first quarter. That's Vogel punting, and we mentioned before the last break what a weapon he was for the University of Miami last year. Their special teams are pretty good between Vogel and Badgley. Vogel averaged 42.5 yards a punt.
Well, Badgley as well. He's one of our favorites. He's a guy that thinks he can set a record for the longest field goal in college football, and I'd like to see that happen for him.
Well, Badgley, it was the Georgia Tech game last year where he hit the 57-yarder. Of course,
he told us he had 65 in him. Remember, it didn't even faze him.
Hit a 57-yarder against Georgia Tech and won the game against Nebraska. So we have about 45 seconds to go in the first quarter, and now here's a little new twist that you'll see. We've seen in the spring. It's an I formation with Chris Herndon as the fullback, Joe Yearby top of the I, and Kaya in a tight pocket. Swings one out in the right flat to Yearby, brought down by Jenkins and brought down hard at the 30-yard line. Also over there was Shaq Quarterman.
Quarterman, a true freshman out of Jacksonville. One of the young linebackers that have really made an impact. Now, he looks perfect to sit there in the middle. He's got probably 6'1", thick, has a good understanding of the angles that are needed out of the middle linebacker. They've got to be good against the run, but also they've got to pursue that running back in the passing game. And look at that. He just read that one and just buried the back right at the line of scrimmage.
So Darian Owens has not been able to participate in the spring. And we'll talk more about that, but that's the end of the first quarter, and we'll take a break with the Orange leading the Green 7. We're at Lockhart Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, where we've had two big plays back-to-back. Braxton Berrios from Brad Kaya on a slant for 45 yards, and then Kaya found Chris Herndon, and a very nice throw from Kaya to Braxton Berrios.
Berrios always precise in his route running, has a great relationship with Brad Kaya, understands where he's supposed to be, and more importantly, catches the football at a high rate. Wow.
Kaya fires one to Malcolm Lewis down to the 5-yard line. And Coach Richt has talked all spring about the accuracy of Brad Kaya. Oh, my goodness.
Talk about finding small windows. Well, he threw it through a jealousy window right there. I mean, just perfectly thrown football. Malcolm did not have to break stride, put two hands out there. Nice catch, and Brad Kaya is something special, Hurricane fans.
Brad Kaya last year, 16 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions. Kaya's going to put this one up, and it's incomplete. Giordano, who's playing fullback and kind of looked like a linebacker on that play.
Well, that's where he started his career, and he had a chance to be a superstar. And that's, you can't miss those chances. You see how Coach Richt is distributing the football. They have a couple tight ends in the ball game, a couple wide receivers. Everybody's thinking they're going to go big or fade in the back of the end zone, and the fullback comes open. Brad Kaya attempts to throw in that direction. It was a pure drop.
And Brad Kaya wants to call a timeout here with the ball inside the 10-yard line, so he calls for a timeout and is able to talk things over with Coach Richt. I think it's been one of the interesting things in spring football so far is Mark Richt is back as the coordinator and calling plays, but when they have their drills, there's the head coach right in the huddle calling plays. That's got to bring a lot of confidence to the offense.
Well, it does, and how about the meeting segment of it? You know, you're sitting in a meeting for hours and hours each week with a head coach that has been a position coach at the quarterback spot, been a successful coordinator, but also has a great understanding of defense. I mean, he's bringing 30 years of college football where he's been looking at defenses for a living. So it doesn't take him long to decipher what someone's going to do and come up with the answers for his quarterback.
See if Brad Kaya gets him into the end zone here. Gives it away to Yearby running wide, and Chad Thomas got some penetration there, and Yearby did not get into the end zone. And so good pursuit by the defense, led by Chad Thomas, and then Redwine getting involved, and Miami's going to be counting on Redwine this year at cornerback.
Absolutely. He came on strong towards the end of the year for the University of Miami last season. Gained a lot of reps the last half of the year. He's going to be in a position to compete for a starting job this offseason. He's got to continue to work on getting an understanding of open field tackling and also his responsibilities at the corner spot.
Got Njoku there in the slot. He's a real red zone threat. And Cager got size. Kaya's going to try to throw, and it was a blitz, and then the play is still going on, but I think Coach Richt is going to say that he was sacked by Muhammad, who came across the line of scrimmage like a speeding bullet.
I think Coach Richt is right. There's not much question in that. That's a guy that has really come on strong and provided leadership to a defense, and is really brings effort. His goal is to be the best in the country at that position, and he realizes that if you're going to make that statement, that it takes a tremendous amount of work and dedication to get there.
Well, Badgley is going to try a 27-yard field goal. There's no rush, and Badgley's kick is good. So now it's 7-3, and we'll take a break. We're at Lockhart Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, 8:19 to go in the first half, and our score is Orange 7 and the Green 3. To Lockhart Stadium, the spring game 2016. Fans are happy so far. Stanish Dobard was just injured for the University of Miami. Looked like it was a lower leg injury. This is Vincent Testaverde now in the game for the Orange team. So Testaverde getting a snap and gives it away to Gus Edwards, who's brought down by Willis. Our sideline reporter today is Alex Dono. Let's go down to the sidelines and Alex Dono.
Hey, Joe, I'm here on the green team sideline with that green team defense back on the field. They've given up a touchdown on their first defensive stand. The message from the coaches to them was, guys, you have to stick together. You have to communicate. You have to be talking constantly. One of those things they're still working out here in spring ball, but they responded to their next trip out with a solid defensive stop.
All right, very good. Alex Dono from the sidelines. The Orange team with a 3rd down and 6 here. Vincent Testaverde from just short of the 30-yard line at Lockhart Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. And Testaverde lets one fly, and that's incomplete in the left flat. He looks facially looks just like his father.
He does. Boy, his dad in great shape. Vinny, senior at a lot of practices this spring, and still looks like he can throw the football around. What was it, 21 or 22 years in the National Football League, and what a great career. And how about the football discussion around that table?
All right, that was a good defensive stand by the green team, and Vogel hits it high, and Braxton Berrios with the fair catch. Miami has not decided yet on their returners, plus they have some players coming in the fall that might factor into that equation, but Berrios did return punts last year, and Stacy Coley, of course, and Corn Elder is always dynamic when he has his hands on the football. We all know how much damage Corn Elder can do to a team when he is running the football, either off an interception or a kick return.
I want to tell you, I saw Corn Elder here a few minutes ago really make a nice open field tackle. That's something that he has not been known for, but is going to be expected to do on a regular basis under this new Hurricane defense as he's lined out here man-on-man against Cager.
All right, so Brad Kaya operating the first team offense against the first team defense. There's a flag down. And Kaya moving a tight pocket, and his pass was deflected by Chad Thomas. Chad last year showed some flashes for the Hurricanes and ended up with 17 tackles, had a couple for losses, had one tackle in the Pittsburgh game at the end of the year. Got banged up a little bit at the end of the season, but that was offsides in the defense. But they're going to really need Chad Thomas this year to be an impact player.
Well, it's time. You know, I think to expect anybody on the line of scrimmage, whether it's offense or defense, to make an impact as a true freshman is too much of an expectation. But now going into his junior year, and he's getting some outstanding coaching from Coach Cool, the new D-line coach, and it's his time.
Ooh. Guy completes a pass to Mark Walton, and Shaq Quarterman and Pickney, along with Elder, all collaborate on the tackle there. And Mark Walton can do a lot of damage for you coming out of the backfield. This is where he's excelled, I think, a lot in spring so far, is those angle ins and catching the ball out of the backfield.
Well, last year against Florida Atlantic, he had a great game as a receiver, and I think the whole package of running backs for Miami has the skill to catch the football. I don't know that there's a group in its entirety that's better than Miami nationally.
Walton had 22 receptions last year. A pass to the far side of the field is completed to Braxton Berrios, and Redwine pushes him out. You got Elder on one side, Redwine right now on the other side. Where's your confidence level there with Redwine?
You know, Joe, at that spot, I'm always leery about experience. You know, you'd like to have those guys stacked up and mentored and maybe redshirted. You see so much in today's football as a corner with the mixed looks and the vertical routes and the crossing routes. So, you know, he's going to have a great camp and really work on his coverage skills on his own. And once camp starts, they've got to put these corners in a lot of positions to be challenged, not to succeed, but to be challenged so they see everything and they don't have to learn on the road.
By the way, Kaya's catching fire here in the spring. He's throwing the ball in this game, I should say. And another completion to Braxton Berrios. Kaya has thrown just 7 interceptions in his last 591 attempts in regular games. So does a great job of protecting the ball. Quick pass to Herndon. Breaks a tackle to 10 to the 5. And wow. Chris Herndon barrels into the end zone for a touchdown.
Mr. I can do everything comes up big. The entire offense in the end zone to salute Chris Herndon. He's can line up at tight end. He can line up at fullback, the H-back. He's doing everything, but more importantly, he can catch the football and accelerate. Players on the other side of the football, the defensive side, just bouncing off of him. As we mentioned earlier, Miami's tight end group are a very, very, very productive group and athletically gifted.
Herndon last season had 18 catches, averaged 13 yards a reception. At the end of the year, came on. One of his better games was against Georgia Tech, where he had 3 catches for 66 yards and 3 for 51 against North Carolina. But they're using him in a lot of different ways.
They are, and he's going to be a valuable commodity to this offense. And the fact that he's dependable as a receiver, he's a tough guy where you can put him in the backfield, and we've already seen today where they've used him as a fullback where he'll run right into the linebacker and keep his feet and be physical enough to make a difference and not just get forearmed and left on the side. He's a guy that is certainly going to make an impact for this Miami offense.
See him coming out of the backfield sometimes.
Oh,
right?
certainly.
I mean,
oh, yeah.
Fullback.
It's all about finding the mismatch.
All right, here's Jack Allison, one of Miami's prized recruits, came in early. I think actually on signing day, there's always so much emphasis on who's signing that day. Sometimes you forget about the guys early. And Jack Allison's had a really good camp. And from the west coast of Florida, from Palmetto, and has had a nice spring so far. He got good size and can throw the football.
He really is. I remember that on signing day, you and I had him as one of our guests on the show talking about the class, and Coach Rick had talked about at that time he'd already gained about 10 or 12 pounds once he hit campus, and looks like he's continuing to develop with that strength and conditioning program, and the nutritional needs are being met. And Coach Rick also made comment that he will play a Jack Allison if he has to. Another important part of the offense is Miami beginning to gel on the offensive line. Sonny Udogwu is out for spring, as well as Nick Linder, 2 starters from last year.
Going to see Allison's arm as he tries to fire that one to Langham. Now he's incomplete, and our sideline reporter today is Alex Dono. Let's go down to the sidelines and Mr. Dono. Alex?
Well, guys, in case you just heard a chorus of boos in the grandstands below us, the fans were letting a handful of Florida State fans have it. I guess a bunch of people thought it'd be a nice idea to come wearing Seminole T-shirts, and the crowd gave them the appropriate salute.
I got you. All right. All right, so the orange team is punting it away, so we'll take a break. We'll take a break. The green team leads the orange team here in the first half by a score. Kaya to throw, and incomplete, intended for Malcolm Lewis. The green team leading the orange 10-7. Brad Kaya has looked very good so far with a touchdown pass to Chris Herndon. So we're at the spring game here at Lockhart Stadium. And now Justin Vogel comes back on to punt it away for the green team. Brad Kaya had a 3-and-out. That's hasn't happened that much here today for Kaya. So Vogel punts it away and backs up Braxton Barrows. Dropped that one. You got to catch them all, Don.
That's correct. No margin for error. Isn't that fun and easy to say, isn't it? But you don't have 11 guys coming at you full speed trying to decapitate you.
All right, we got 3:38 to play here in the first half. And again, Coach Rick said we're not going to try to out-trick each other on offense and defense. Probably be pretty vanilla, which it has been so far. We're putting a premium on execution.
And that means tackling. That means technique while you're blocking. That means understanding what your role is in the backfield. If you're carrying the football, if you're asked to be involved in pass pro.
All right, so let's see if the orange team can score before the end of the half. And they have Malik Rozier back in there. There's Rozier to throw. He's got Darrell Langham. And Langham across the 35 to the 37. Let's concentrate on him for a moment. He's getting a really good look here in the spring. Kind of an under-the-radar recruit with the previous coaching staff. And Coach Rick has said we got to get him to play to his size.
There's no doubt. I mean, when you possess that much size, and really what they've got him to do is start catching the football. He's really starting to understand that that's where it really begins. And he's got such a big body, and he has the speed that is unusual for somebody that size. He's got to constantly be able to help in the running game with blocking downfield, something that Miami has really done a fantastic job of the last 2 years, is making those downfield blocks on the receivers that are involved in the running game. But Langham presents a big target. You look at he and Cager, and then you throw in Njoku and Herndon. How difficult is that for some to cover in the red zone or short yardage? It gives you a lot of targets.
Langham is 6'4", 236 pounds. So
that's a tight end
yeah.
back in the day.
Gus Edwards has looked pretty good here so far. Last year got hurt right at the end of training camp. And takes that one right up the middle. Haven't had a turnover so far today. And the University of Miami did a good job last season in the turnover department. They were plus 11. So they were really forcing a lot of turnovers.
You hope that carries over, and you hope that that's something that you can continue to grow. You love those extra possessions, and also demoralizes your opponent when you are able to get those takeaways.
Now we're inside of 2 minutes, so let's see if Coach Rick sends him into the 2-minute drill, but it's a handoff to Edwards. And Edwards across the 40-yard line and gets out to about the 41-yard line. And Robert Knowles involved in the tackle in that one. And also Gerald Willis as well.
Get used to saying that name.
Knowles or Willis?
Let's hope more of Knowles, but a lot of Willis.
Got a timeout here, and with 1:43 to go. Well, let's pick up on that because we all know one of the things the University of Miami needs to address is better play on their defensive line. It's been a long, hard search, and you got to go back a long way to find the last time let me put it this way. You got to go back a long time to find a first-round draft choice from the University of Miami on the defensive line. You've got to go back to 2011 where you can find a first-round draft choice of a player that was recruited out of Miami-Dade or Broward County.
They don't grow those guys down here quite as much as they do in other parts of the country. And I believe the last first-round pick out of a defensive tackle for Miami is Vince Wolford. And I guess that would be, 12 years ago, I would think, something like that.
And out of
even a little longer.
And out of the county, not a University of Miami player, would be Corey Leggett. And that was back in 2011. So with 1:36 to go in the first half, we're going to get a 2-minute drill from Brad Kaya.
I think Corey went to LSU, did he not? Or
Illinois.
Illinois. There you go.
So Braxton Berrios has played well. He's been catching the football. This formation is Cager, Njoku, and Braxton Berrios. And the 2-minute drill is something that Coach Rick works on in practice. They worked on it, as a matter of fact, Thursday morning. One of the last things they did was the 2-minute drill and the Hail Mary drill.
Well, you could go back if you were studying Mark Richt over the years and how he was as a coordinator. He was one of the guys that really brought that 2-minute drill to a full 60 minutes while he was at Florida State. He had Charlie Ward at that position, and Charlie won a Heisman Trophy. There you go.
Started off with a nice pass to Chris Herndon, and Herndon has the first down and then got hammered by Shaq Quarterman.
This Shaq Quarterman just is so natural at that position, and to think that he's only been on campus for 3 or 4 months and has only 17, 18 practices under his belt at the collegiate level. He was a guy that was banged up a little bit in high school.
From Oakleaf High School, the same high school that produced Darian Owens for Miami. A sideline pass and a terrific catch by Braxton Berrios. Wow, that was a cocoon of concentration. Braxton Berrios gets 1 foot down at the 49-yard line.
Well, you've got a quarterback with outstanding accuracy, and he puts it right to the outside for Braxton Berrios. Braxton goes a little bit airborne, stretches out, secures the catch, gets the feet down, and puts Miami in a nice position. Brad
Kaya has played in 25 games at the University of Miami and has thrown for more than 200 yards in 19 of those games. Handoff to Yearby as Brad Kaya trying to direct Miami into the end zone. Tried a little change up there on the defense, and Kendrick Norton is there, and McIntosh as well.
A lot of draw plays have been plugged into the playbook for Miami. It's a good play to run when you're facing a hard charging 4-3 defense. Everybody's in a hurry to get upfield and get their feet across the line of scrimmage on the defensive side, and it allows the offensive line to just kind of shuttle the defender where they want to go and the running back to pick and choose his spot.
Green team has the ball in the final 90 seconds, and Kaya tries to connect with David Njoku. That time perhaps had him twisted around a little bit, and Jamal Carter bearing down on David Njoku, who's one of my favorite players, and I think could just be so exciting. Had 21 catches last year, averaged 17 yards a reception, and probably should have caught that pass.
He certainly should have, and the defense brings 2 linebackers. Miami picks up the pressure, allows Brad the time, and you've got to catch that pass. You want Njoku. I wouldn't mind seeing him somewhere around 40 or 50 catches this year.
Kaya's a third down, and swing pass, and Njoku try to let him run for it. That's always a good way to get to the first down, right? You throw it and let somebody run for it, but he was brought down just short of the first down by Jenkins.
Well, let's look at it this way. If you're the corner, whether it's Cornelder or Mays or whoever's out there or whoever it may be during the season, a one-on-one matchup with a guy running right at you that's built like Njoku is not real appealing.
On fourth down, Brad Kaya rifles one to Herndon and is juggled around and incomplete. It was a battle between Herndon and Jamal Carter, and Carter wins it, knocks it away.
Carter did a nice job of staying in tune to the football, finishing the play, making sure that he's through the whistle, because that should have been caught. But what happened is he gets wrapped up and throws the balance off of Njoku, and that led to the incompletion.
All right, so now Mark Richt goes to the other side. He gets to call plays now for the Orange team, and they've got 32 seconds to play with here. The Green team leading the Orange 10-7, and final 30 seconds to go from about the 43-yard line. Spring game at Lockhart Stadium. Evan Sheriffs comes back in. Evan's brother plays quarterback for UConn. Comes from an athletic family. Let's see if he can generate some points here for the Orange team. They scored first with Malik Rozier. Now Sheriff's going to throw, but he's sacked.
31 again.
Demetrius Jackson.
Yes. I tell you, he's had a spring. He's going to add some quality depth to that defensive end position, and you can just see the size change, just from a physical aspect, how he's turning into what that position's supposed to look like, and the benefit of a red shirt.
What the Miami fan remembers is the 4-3 defense, and we'll talk more about that in the second half. And one of the things they remember is guys being wide like Danny Stubbs. You're seeing the defensive ends widen out here because they'll have some athletic ability there on the perimeter. Just athletic ability alone might get them to run past some of these tackles they might see during the course of the year.
Well, one thing I remember about those defenses, there was a lot of All-Americans on them,
yeah.
a lot of all-conference players, and a lot of depth and a lot of competition. And Juan Muhammad is a guy that certainly can run by you, and Jackson has done it numerous times during the spring, and he's big enough to slant on the inside and make things happen.
Sheriffs completes a pass there to Chad Allen. He's from California.
What we have seen is a nice blend of under center and shotgun, a little hurry up and some tempo offense.
You better hurry. He only has 6 seconds left. This has to be a Hail Mary here from midfield. We'll see what kind of arm he has. A little bit of pressure. Had a chance for a sack. Throws it down the field. Intercepted by Jaquan Johnson. He's at the 35, near sideline 40, 45, 50. And Sheriffs has to make the tackle. And that brings us to the end of the first half. And I don't think as Sheriffs is going to go by and see Coach Richt on that pass.
It's okay, Coach Richt will find him. They'll learn from it. That's what spring's all about. That's why you don't want your quarterback having to hurry.
Now, let's see. We're going to hear, we're hoping to hear from Coach Richt as the team is headed for the locker room. And maybe, not sure where Alex Dono is. All right, let's go down to Alex Dono and Mark Richt. All right, Alex.
Guys, I'm here with the head coach, Mark Richt. Coach, we saw both offenses score a touchdown in that first half. What did you like offensively there?
Oh, they made a few plays here and there. We moved the ball halfway decent, but short yardage situations didn't get it done. But overall, it's been a pretty good match by offense versus defense.
Working closely with the quarterbacks there, Coach. What did you like there?
Most decisions were good. That last one, really, I put him in a bad situation. Called a play, never should have at the end of the half like that, but just trying to get some reps and threw one up for grabs, but really never should have called the play to begin with.
And the defenses?
Doing a nice job, getting some good stops when they need it the most.
Thanks, Coach. All right, guys, back to you.
All right, Alex, thank you very much. It's halftime here at Lockhart Stadium, and we will continue. Our halftime show is coming up next here from Lockhart Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. Join us. Okay. We're back at Lockhart Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, site of the University of Miami spring football game. And a pretty good crowd here. Of course, we're at Lockhart Stadium because the University of Miami Stadium is under construction. We're going to have a roof this year when the Canes kick it off.
I just want to make sure that they have you in a place that you're comfortable to call the football game.
they could put me on their roof and I'll be comfortable.
There you go.
We'll be
That's
good.
the answer we're looking for.
We'll be in good shape. Here's a look at what Sun Life Stadium is going to look like this year, scheduled for completion in August, and the fans will be very comfortable.
They're going to be as comfortable can be. You're talking about for incoming recruits in this existing football team to play in one of the most state-of-the-art stadiums in all of the country. And they've done a phenomenal job of just continuing to develop how this stadium is going to look and how it's going to be able to be so comfortable for the fans, and what an impression it'll make not only for national championship games and Super Bowls.
So Sun Life Stadium under construction right now, should be ready in September when the University of Miami kicks off the 2016 season. At Lockhart Stadium in Fort Lauderdale is halftime, and Canes have had a good spring so far. Have had an entertaining first half for the most part. Been fun to watch Brad Kai operate here this afternoon, and you got to see Gus Edwards as well. What have you liked so far, Don Bailey Jr., in the first half of the spring game?
Well, I like David Njoku. I like the fact that he's been able to make some plays. Cornelder, there was talk early in spring that he needed to get more physical in the running game and also his tackling. And he's done that. And then, of course, it all starts and stops with Brad Kai. And he is living up to his reputation as a guy that's very secure with the football, doesn't throw the interception, has precise accuracy, and he's distributing the football well. You see him going to the backs and then the tight ends, then the wide receivers, and mixing it up in a way that is important for this Miami offense to click. And the running game, Gus Edwards is a guy that really has come out and is running the football the way that you think he should run it.
All right, so we're at the spring game at Lockhart Stadium, and we will have much more for you as we continue. We are at the half at the University of Miami spring game, Lockhart Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. And we have a lot of alumni as we welcome you back to Lockhart Stadium for the Hurricanes spring football game. And a lot of former players are excited about the Mark Richt era. You were part of that, I guess, reunion yesterday afternoon, so to speak, right?
Players only. It was outstanding. Rick Rimmert, who was in charge of putting that on, certainly did a fantastic job. And Blake James and Jen Strawley, all the people that were involved to feed 400 people at one shot. But Coach Richt addressed the football team. It was nice to see players from all eras, from the 50s and 60s, and there was a big contingent of the players that from that 78 to 82 group that played with Coach Richt. Tony Fitzpatrick was there, Darren McMurray, a group of guys that really are it's important for them, for Coach Richt to do well. But the turnout was no accident, Joe. I mean, it was because of the energy that Coach Richt is instilled into this program, and the fact that a former Hurricane is at the helm and they're coming out and supporting him. But it was the thing that I liked about it so much is that the existing players actually, there were 3 or 4 of them at each table. There was 25 or 30 tables there, so the players got to see some of the past and hear about some of the history, and a lot of the alumni got to sit down with the players and identify with them as well. So it was a fantastic evening.
All right, we're halftime at Lockhart Stadium, and we'll continue our coverage of the University of Miami spring game right after this. Teams are coming back out onto the field for the start of the second half. The University of Miami spring football game from Lockhart Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. The orange against the green. Joe Zagacki with Don Bailey Jr. On with so far a very nice afternoon. A nice afternoon here at Lockhart Stadium so far. Rain expected in the area a little bit later on. One of the guys that stood out in the first half was Braxton Berrios.
Well, Joe, he has stood out since the day he showed up on campus. This is a guy that can play inside or outside, is very conscious of the type of routes that he runs. But from day one, it was determined that Braxton is sure-handed. And you can watch him throughout his career, and especially today, that he can make every catch in the book, and he's in tune with Brad Kaya, always stays after practice to work on his routes and his skills, and he's determined to be a successful football player here at the University of Miami. He also has the ability to return punts and is great in the open field, he is a guy that is very, very electric.
Had 12 catches last year, carried the ball 4 times as well, had a big game in the Sun Bowl against Washington State. We're going to come back with the second half of the University of Miami spring game from Lockhart Stadium in Fort Lauderdale, the green and the orange, and we'll have that for you coming up right after this. About ready to get the second half started here. Mark Richt with Vincent Testaverde as the past meets the present right there. And Vincent Testaverde will get a chance here to begin the third quarter. All right, here we go with Vincent Testaverde. Third quarter underway for the Miami spring game at Lockhart Stadium. And a handoff across the 25-yard line for Trayon Gray out of Carroll City High School. And Coach Rick says he sees him as a tailback. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. Maybe he can help the Hurricanes. He was very, very good in high school.
Absolutely. Played the quarterback position for Carroll City and Aubrey Hill, and he was very, very productive at that spot. And he's, there's a lot more to just playing that position than running the football. You've got to be involved in pass protection and blitz pickup and understand your role as a receiver. So he's still learning how to do that.
Almost dropped that one in there. Maybe drop being the operative word. Intended for Owan Carney. Could not hold on to it, but Vincent, that was a nice looking throw. Let's go down to our sideline reporter, and Alex Dono had a chance to visit with a couple of people during the halftime. Alex?
Yeah, guys, some of the many former players here at halftime visited with guys like Randall, Thrill Hill, Edgerrin James, Jesse Armstead, and others. They're really happy about what they saw in that first half and just happy for so many guys to gather together and watch Hurricanes football. Also saw a Canes legend roaming the sidelines in Howard Schnellenberger, first national championship coach. He is looking dapper and legendary as always, guys, rocking some suspenders here today.
Trayon Gray breaks out across the 35, gets out nearly to the 40-yard line.
Gray in the first half, 3 carries and no yards. Does a nice job on that one, getting squared up after he collects the handoff, and you can see the power. He's got straight ahead ability and has starting to get a better understanding of the field that's needed to play that position.
We'll give you some of the first half stats in a moment. But Vincent Testaverde here to begin the third quarter for the Orange team. Gray with a carry straight ahead. Brad Kaya in the first half was 13 out of 21 for 174 yards. And we talked about Braxton Berrios during the halftime with 5 catches for 82 yards. Now Trayon Gray here getting an opportunity in the third quarter. And I'm just waiting for the day for him to break a long one because he runs with such power.
He does, and has that acceleration. He's got that gear to pick up the long yardage when needed. And, I like a little old school formation right there, an I formation with a fullback and a big tailback and all the good things that come with that.
So talk about that for a moment. We're going to see this year more of a 2-back offense from Mark Richt.
You certainly will, and there's a couple reasons for that. He's had a lot of success with it over the years, but it helps in pass protection. If you split those guys out, you can protect the perimeter a little bit more. If you need them to help on the inside, they can do that as well, and balances up the defense. Coach Rick mentioned that they are really looking for a fullback. They would like a Moose Johnson type, if anybody remembers who that is, a guy that can catch and run and can really do a nice job of being a lead blocker for whoever the ball carrier is.
Testaverde gets sacked right there on a third down. So that'll bring the punting team on, and we'll take a break here in the third quarter with the green team leading the orange with about 8.5 to go. In the third quarter, it's a 3-point game in the Hurricane spring game. We're at Lockhart Stadium, the University of Miami spring game. Mark Walden getting loose. How about this one of your favorite areas? We're zeroing in on offensive line, Trevor Darling and Casey McDermott. What have you seen in the spring from the offensive line?
Well, I can tell you that Casey McDermott has rearranged his body over the last 2 years. He's lost 25, 30 pounds coming into spring practice, and it has really enhanced his game. He's playing with a lot more knee bend. He's feeling comfortable with his hands, and his endurance has been able to pick up, and he got a little bit rid of that baby fat, so to speak, and has added some bulk and some muscle, and is really accelerating his performance at that spot. I would tell you for spring, Danny Isadora is probably the guy that's had the best spring on the offensive line. He's got a complete understanding of the technique that Stacy Searles, Miami's offensive line coach, is teaching. He understands the punch and the hands and the feet, and is providing good leadership as well. He's the elder statesman on that offensive line.
Mark Richt calling a timeout. Continuing along the offensive line, he's going to have Lindner and Adagwu coming back. And Adagwu had to play through a bit of an injury last year in the final game, but he really ended up playing much better than I thought. Even scored a touchdown last year.
That was my favorite, my second favorite play of the year. I think that got overshadowed by another play at Duke. But you look at the conversation that Coach Richt and Brad Kaaya are having, and there's many hours in a day that happens, all in the meetings, and I'm sure that the game plan that's going to be put into play each week when Miami faces their opponents is going to have input from both sides. I mean, Coach Richt wants to know what his quarterbacks think. He's a guy that believes that there should be 5 to 6 quarterbacks on the roster. He doesn't ever want to be left without one, so to speak, and it helps development. So he's got an open door and an open ear policy to game planning.
269 yards per game last year for Brad Kaaya. The Florida State game, of course, he threw for 405 yards in that game where he completed 29 passes. The Nebraska game, he threw for 379 yards. I think that's going to be a great marriage.
Yeah, I do too. And Joe, I think, the best is yet to come. Brad Kaaya is so much more mature. He's, he exceeded expectations as a freshman, had a solid sophomore year, but he's playing the game like a man. I mean, physically he looks different. His understanding of the game, and more importantly, his understanding of the defenses that he faces. That's where this accuracy and this touchdown to interception ratio is so important, because he understands what the opponent is trying to do to him, and he knows how to counter it.
I think it's also important to note, after Mark Walton carried the football, really for Brad Kaaya, it's his third offense in 3 years.
That's correct.
Had a different offense the first year. Last year after spring football, they changed the offense, became more of a spread team, and now back to more of a power two-back offense where you'll see split backs. You don't often see that anymore, but Mark Richt's offense now in the I formation on this play, but you will see split backs.
Well, the thing is for Brad Kaaya, I think he is a guy that will certainly excel with a pared down playbook like you're seeing today. And his options are going to be limited, so that's going to take away from his intelligence, because I believe that he walks on the field and knows that he can have a counter to everything a defense does, but his accuracy is just so superb. And, it's one thing to have that rocket arm or that big arm, and it's another to have the touch to go with it, and he throws a very catchable ball.
Meanwhile, he's directing the green team toward the end zone again, and in the left flat, Chris Herndon has it again and runs over a defender at the goal line for a touchdown. I believe that was Corn Elder that just took the brunt of it, as Chris Herndon has scored his second touchdown.
Well, you look at Herndon and Njoku, and they're basically the bookends. I mean, they're very identical as far as size and speed goes, but what they've done this spring football is they've gotten more physical. They realize that they're tough to bring down. They realize that they can inflict pain on the defender, and you get into a fourth quarter in a ball game, and you've seen those guys coming after you every time they catch the football. You're going to want to bow out of a few of these tackles, and they certainly have the athletic skill to hurdle you as well.
Chris Herndon had 1 touchdown a year ago. He has 2 in today's spring game. He looks like he's going to be a big part of the offense. We'll have more of the 2016 Hurricane spring game with the green team leading the orange team 16-7. All right, back at Lockhart Stadium, where the orange team has just gone 3 and out with Jack Allison as the quarterback. So stop there for the green defense, and the green leading the orange by a score of 16-7. So we're back to a punt here, and Justin Vogel will kick it away. No return. Coach Richt is back there for the return. Malcolm Lewis on the return. Joe Zagacki and Don Bailey Jr. for the 2016 spring game. We'll see what Coach Rick sends out there now. Jack Allison just had an opportunity and went 3 and out. And that's going to be the end of the third quarter. Mark Rick's going to let the time run out, so that's going to bring us to the end of the third quarter. And we'll have one more to go. I think we're trying to, it's not play beat the clock, it's play beat the rain here this afternoon.
I think you're right.
We've had a nice spring afternoon, but we're expecting a pretty big downpour here. So that is the end of the third quarter. So we'll take a break here and come back with fourth quarter action as the third quarter has come to an end at Lockhart Stadium with the green team leading the orange team by a score of 16. Fourth quarter is underway with this interception.
Brad Kaya deep in the pocket, and Cornelder making a play on the football. Had an understanding of where that ball was going to be delivered, and Braxton Barrios was the intended receiver, and Cornelder comes up with a pick.
So back to the orange team. You mentioned Brad Kaya last year. Brad Kaya has thrown just 7 interceptions in his last 591 attempts. And Cornelder came down with an interception while we were away as the fourth quarter is underway. Malik Rozier for Gus Edwards and runs right into the middle of the defensive line. Cortell Jenkins getting involved there. Big Cortell will be a junior this upcoming season next to Gerald Willis there, and maybe some expectations on Cortell Jenkins.
I think the whole defensive front, I really believe that there's a level of expectation out of them where they've got a new defensive line coach that's pumped a lot of guys into the National Football League and a lot of all-conference players in the Southeastern Conference, and he's done a nice job this spring of honing their technique, making sure that they play with the right leverage and at the right height, and they use their hands and understand how to run the stunts and twists that come along with the Manny Diaz defense.
You know, if you take a look at first-round draft choices, defensive linemen, you had Leonard Williams from USC and Vic Beasley from Clemson a year ago, and then you look the year before that, you see a guy from BYU and one from Florida, and the year before that, you see somebody from Memphis and Mississippi State, but you also see Missouri. The outlier was Missouri, and that's because of Coach Kuligowski.
Yes, it was, and he's a quiet coach on the field. You know that he's not a guy that's yelling and screaming and ranting and raving. He's all about technique. He's all about making sure that the defensive front understands the right steps and hand position, and mind you, I mean he understands the importance of the aggressiveness and the intensity that's needed to play that spot. But he spends a tremendous amount of effort and skill with his ability to teach, making sure these young men understand what they're supposed to do.
Green team gets a stop there. The defensive line's going to have some versatility there. On the defensive end, Trent Harris, Chad Thomas, Wad Muhammad, Demetrius Jackson. And then inside, of course, you got Willis, McIntosh, Jenkins. We haven't talked a lot about Moten, who was a high recruit coming out of St. Thomas High School.
Certainly is. He's a guy that when you look at what he's done coming out of high school, he was highly ranked, a 4-star guy, and you look at Moten right now, and he's physically fit in the mode of what you want out of that position. And you throw in the defensive end pressure. That's what's important to me. And I go back to Willis. He's the guy that's working at it. He's got a lot of hype that he was coming in here, so we got to make sure that hype turns into fact. And he doesn't have that elite size, but there is some depth at the defensive tackle position with McIntosh, Moten, Willis, Jenkins, and Norton.
Norton from Jacksonville could really have a big effect. All right, let's see what Brad Kaya does. He comes back out there, and
you want depth on that defensive front so you can roll those guys. You're playing about a third more plays than you used to. Keep that pass rush fresh.
Finds Lawrence Cager. We saw flashes from Cager last year. Seen some flashes from him here this afternoon. Zach McLeod is in the game as well for the orange team. Brad Kaya well protected that time, Don Bailey.
Well, Miami spent a lot of time on pass protection. Listen, they understand, that offensive line understands the importance of Brad Kaya remaining upright. He's a guy that you don't want to get hit ever, ever. And that you don't want to have happen either. David knows better.
Mentioned that offensive line last year. They were very young, but they allowed just 19 sacks. That was 5th fewest in the ACC.
I think 4 of those came in the bowl game in tough conditions. But overall, I would say that for the inexperience that they showed up with and the sack number that they ended up with was impressive. Their athletic offensive line, and I can tell you that McDermott's a far better football player than he is today, as was yesterday, and the same thing with Isidore.
There's Joe Yearby on a swing pass getting loose on the far sideline across the 35 to the 40 out to the 41-yard line. Seeing Joe Yearby and Mark Walton catch the football a lot. The offensive line last year going into the season had only a combined 23 starts. Joe Yearby, talk about him for a moment, had 1,000 yards last year, and also, as we just saw in that play, has nice soft hands.
You know, Joe, we talked early in the broadcast about the common denominator in the backfield, and that is their ability to catch the football. And Yearby was a complete back last year. He rushed for over 1,000 yards. He did a nice job as a receiver. Certainly participated in pass protection. And once again, you see Brad Kaya threading the needle to Cager, and that's a combination that you need to see a whole lot of this year. Miami doing a nice job with the crossing routes and the wide receivers flashing their number to Brad as he scans to the right and comes back to the middle, goes right where the receiver's going to be.
About 8.5 minutes to go in the 2016 spring game. That will wrap up spring football here in about 8 minutes. Kaya takes a snap and lets another one fly for Chris Herndon. If there's an MVP in the spring game, Chris Herndon's knocking on the door.
That he is. Tell you, you got to feel, as far as an offensive position, you really have to feel that the tight end spot is going to give you a lot of production this year. Give you a lot of versatility. He's going to help you in the running game, help you where you can take a guy like Herndon and insert him at fullback when you need to, flex him out, go 2 tight ends as often as you want. The guys are both big enough to help in the running game and in pass pro.
Joe Yearby running behind Tyler Gauthier, who's getting some action at center.
He is. You had Grimsley in the ball game as well. Tyree St. Louis is a big-bodied guy that didn't see much action last year, that needs to continue to get better. He's certainly as athletic as you would ask anybody to be at 320-plus pounds.
Mark Richt and Brad Kaya talking things over. And Brad Kaya is looking at a 3rd down situation. He has 2 touchdowns today to Chris Herndon. And now he has Herndon in the I formation in front of Joe Yearby.
Well, the defensive side, they got those defensive ends split out wide, trying to find the right angle to the quarterback, and Brad anticipates the open receiver, finds him, and Cager's a guy to throw to, especially on short yardage. If he catches it, even if he's a wee bit short of the down marker, he's got the height to fall forward and pick up those extra yards and move those chains for the Hurricanes.
Lawrence Cager in this game has looked a little more polished, and he was a player that last year you highlighted a lot. He had some plays across the middle that he made, and Stacy Coley, not playing in this game, was injured in the scrimmage last week. And, of course, Stacy had a dynamic season last year. Kaya again in the flats to Joe Yearby. I know you love that play.
Oh, yeah. Can't get enough of that one, Kenny. And you look at Coach Dugan's, the wide receiver coach. He was a guy that won national championships at Florida State, played opposite Peter Warwick, and was a very productive receiver. And, you know, he can explain to the receivers that are on campus today what they have to do and what they're doing wrong and how to improve their game, because he was there, has some NFL experience, a good career in coaching college football, and you see a good relationship with the coaches. I think that group in general has improved, and they're constantly working on the catch.
Well, you can't run with the ball unless you have the ball. Coach Rick talked a little bit about speed at wide receiver, which I think is a concern, but I think some of that speed also, as Brad Kaya mentioned, if you only have a few receivers, early in the game they might be running a 4-2, but late in the game they're running a 4-5, and some of that depth is going to come in here in the fall, as Miami did a pretty good job of recruiting receivers.
Well, that speed takes the pressure off the offense. I mean, you go back over the years, and everybody talks about Andre Johnson as one of the greatest receivers of all time for Miami, and he was. And it wasn't just his size; he could run by everybody.
All right, Mark Richt has called a timeout, so we'll take a timeout as well in the fourth quarter with 6 minutes to go. The green team leading the orange team by a score of 16-7 from Lockhart Stadium. We're at Lockhart Stadium, the final moments of spring football. While we were gone, Brad Kaya threw a missile to the end zone for Braxton Berrios, and it was a bang-bang play, and the defense won.
Cornelder has stepped up his game. I mean, he was asked to improve in the run defense, and he's done that. We know he can cover, and he's shown that he can do that as well. Good play action off the I formation for Brad Kaya, and Cornelder holds his position inside out and gets the pass deflected right at the last second.
Now the orange team with a chance. Gray Carey spins out of a tackle, and he's just short of the 30-yard line. 5:45 to go here in the fourth quarter of spring football, with Brad Kaya's team winning 16-7. It's the Kayas 16 and all the other quarterbacks 7.
No surprise there, right?
Let's see what Evan Sheriffs can do here in the waning moments of spring football. They're going to keep it on the ground for Trayon Gray. Been pretty simple here, as we've mentioned. The emphasis today was on trying to become a better executing team. Certainly, this is a squad, the University of Miami, that has to be more disciplined, both sides of the ball, erase the penalties. Thought they did a pretty good job last year protecting the football, did take it away, but the penalties were just so crucial.
Well, they were brutal. I mean, you don't even want to bring it up. I mean, you go to the Duke game, what happened, the North Carolina game at Cincinnati. I mean, it was to the point where you were looking at the stat sheet and questioning if it was a misprint or not. So Coach Richt has had officials at every practice. He's talked about it at every practice. He's also the discipline off the field, the discipline about being on time, just the overall discipline of his football team. The way that he runs his program, he feels it will improve that category as well, because it just doesn't happen on Saturday or a Thursday night on the field. That carries over into the classroom and the locker room, and he's put an end to that. He's made sure that everybody understands that that's not an acceptable number, and that's one category that they are going to improve on, and that they really want to get to where they lead the nation year in and year out, where they're the least penalized team.
I think people forget, in 15 years at Georgia, Mark Richt averaged 9.6 wins a year, went to the SEC championship game 5 times. That's pretty strong.
Well, you brought up the fact that he would have played for some national championships
under different, if the rules were today,
correct,
while he was at Georgia, he probably would have been in the Final Four in that semifinal group 3 times.
Okay, so that's impressive, but the number that really jumped out to me on his resume is the fact that in 14 years, he got to 132 victories, the 3rd fastest in college football history. So you're taking all the coaches and all the places and all the D1, and he's in the top 3 of victories in that time period. Tells you that his record is a national record, that his resume holds up nationally in all different conferences and all different eras. But the people that know Coach Richt, you can talk about the success on the football field, but it's how he manages his team and his life and how he wants to help young men after football that, to me, is more impressive than the wins and losses.
6 first-place finishes, 4 second-place finishes, never lower than 3rd in the SEC East, so always competing. And that's going up against the Gators and South Carolina, the Tennessee, SEC East. Tough to get through, and year in and year out, he was right at the top of it.
That he was, and let's face it, over those 15 years, that conference has increased their coaching knowledge as well. Each team has gone out and done a good job of upgrading facilities and upgrading coaching and assistants. So it was a highly competitive conference, and he's held his own and excelled in it. But more importantly, the recruiting now that he is trying to instill here at the U is back to when he was recruited out of Boca Raton. They're gonna try and rope off Dade Broward and Palm Beach County and be selective throughout the state. But if they have to go national, they're going to go national and make sure that the players that they do recruit have a big interest in being a Hurricane, because I think that's a big part of it as well.
All right, we have just about 3 minutes to go, and Mark Richt gives a play to Brad Kaya from midfield, and then we'll sneak a break in here after this pass from Brad Kaya, trying to hit a home run for Malcolm Lewis. It looked like he got held up by Corn Elder on the play. A little bit over 2 minutes to go. Take our final break before we wrap up spring football with the Green leading the Orange by a score of 16-7 at Lockhart Stadium. Vincent Testaverde directing the Hurricanes offense right now. His team is trailing the Brad Kaya team. It's the Green 16 and the Orange 7, and we're into the final 2 minutes of spring football. Bar Milo in the game. Bar played high school football with Brad Kaya. So here is Vincent Testaverde. Orange scored the first touchdown, and then they've been shut out ever since. And Vincent Testaverde airs that one out and nearly intercepted. Michael Jackson had his hands on the football. Michael Jackson, a defensive back from Alabama. He's had a pretty good camp, but was not able to overtake anybody just yet, but he's got good size.
That he does. He's got the length and speed that you want at that position. He's gaining an understanding of his responsibility and getting the reps against some of these receivers that Miami has.
So that was a 3 and out for the Orange team, and Vogel's getting his leg worked out pretty good here today. He'll be a senior and a guy that can really change the field position for him. Miami's done a tremendous job punting the football in his first 2 years. Brad Kaya comes out. He gets his hands on the football one more time. He has 2 touchdown passes today to Chris Herndon.
What do you think, Joe? Can he march the field?
Well, that's the question. He has 1:15, so
plenty of time.
Well, he has the lead. So is he supposed to score now, or?
I think I would not want to be the guy to tell Brad Kaya not to score. As competitive as he is, and that guy that's helping him call the plays, they're a pretty competitive pair.
I do think people forget that Mark Richt was one of the great play callers in college football.
Well, I don't know how. I mean, how you would forget the fact that he put 2 Heisman Trophy winners on the field. He implemented that offense with Charlie Ward and really kind of changed college football. He led the nation in offense at 1 year at Florida State, and out of 7 years, 5 times he was in the top 12 in total offense. So he is a guy that was certainly understood offense and how to generate points and yards, and it led him to being named the head coach at the University of Georgia at a very young age.
Well, usually at this point you go with time and score and run out the clock, but he called a timeout because I believe he's using this as a 2-minute drill for Brad Kaya to conclude the spring. So as Kaya tries to march him down the field, Kendrick Norton chases him. Kaya showing good mobility, but has his pass broken up by Redwine.
Brad has done a nice job in the weight room, and I think that's always important to know. If your quarterback's spending time in there, he's spending time with the entire team. There was a time when the quarterback didn't think that they had to lift quite as much and get into shape. That's no longer the case. Brad Kaya that's an area where he flexes his leadership and makes sure that people are pushing themselves in the conditioning and weightlifting department.
Before you know it'll be time to kick off the season.
Can't get here soon enough.
Brad Kaya from the pocket, looking for David Njoku and overthrows him.
David bracketed down there, and Brad throws it away. He is not one to force things unless he has to.
seen the safeties back there today of Jamal Carter and Rayshawn Jenkins, and really it's been Corn Elder and Sheldrick Redwine. How do you feel about those 4 guys right now patrolling the secondary?
Well, you go with the safeties. Both of those men are been here a long time, have logged a lot of games. That's probably the most experienced part of your defensive formation are your safeties. They're big and physical guys that'll understand their role in the run game and the coverage help that they have to provide with the corners. Corn Elder had a great day today. You know, he's basically handled everything that's been thrown his way. Certainly has improved himself in run defense.
Braxton Berrios has had a nice day as well, coming up with a nice reception right there to keep things going with 49 seconds left in spring football.
He's such a fierce competitor. Yeah. You know, Braxton. He wants every catch. He wants every run. Wants to touch that football.
Kaya steps up in the pocket, being chased by Demetrius Jackson. And, oh, my goodness, what a catch by Braxton Berrios on the near sidelines, doing a little do-si-do in front of Corn Elder. And if Braxton Berrios if this is going to carry over to the fall, Miami's going to have a special player on the perimeter.
Brad Kaya breaks free of the pocket, keeps looking downfield, and just the last second he takes a hard right as far as looking at the field, and Braxton keeps that foot in bounds and stretches out and plays a lot bigger than his listed height.
Kaya from the pocket, quick throw, and Lawrence Cager had it and dropped it.
Can't have that.
Again, trying to run with the ball before he had the ball, and got that big body across the middle, and he gets access into the secondary. That would be a real threat.
They whip their head around and start moving, and you don't realize how big and physical these tight ends are until you're at the reunion last night and you see Jeremy Shockey come in there, and all these young guys are going, all the young tight ends want a picture with Jeremy Shockey. But Joe, he was a big cat now. I mean, he had great size. And these young men fit right into that mold.
Kaya for Malcolm Lewis. And he completes that pass inside the 30-yard line as he's trying to score with 30 seconds to play. Malcolm Lewis will be a senior coming up and trying to get himself back in the rotation. Last year he was a little bit off as the season went on. Kaya one more throw for Malcolm Lewis in hand-to-hand combat with Corn Elder. And Chad Thomas is down for Miami. I don't want to see that here with 23 seconds to go.
Wanted to see if Chad's going to get up and
I think he's going to be okay. He might be high-pitched here for a couple of minutes, but I think he's going to be okay. Well, overall, the day from Brad Kaya, he looks pretty sharp.
Brad Kaya-esque. I believe that he's going to just continue to get better, and he and Coach Reck are going to make sure that they have an understanding of the entire offense, and they'll have to make sure that their communication skills continue to get better. And we've got to find that number 2 quarterback, which we talked about in our open. I think that's going to be a big part of training camp, and that's something that will go on and on and on throughout the season, and see who's going to emerge as the back, if there is going to be one. If not, it'll be a committee of some talented young men. It'll be interesting to see how the incoming freshmen impact the wide receiver spot.
We've seen Miami's 4-3 defense today, and now we're down to 23 seconds to play. Kai's going to put it in the air one more time. Njoku, the 25-yard, it takes 3, my goodness, 3 players to bring him down. Jenkins and Elder and Jawan Young. It took 3 men to bring down the Incredible Hulk.
He's a big body, and once he gets a little momentum going, it might take more than 3 men. You can see that time Coach Diaz jumped to a little bit of an odd defense, 3 down linemen. That doesn't mean he won't bring pressure, because he sure likes to bring it.
So I think we get another play or two. And Coach Rick wants to score a touchdown here, using this as a 2-minute drill, 2-minute drive, even though his team is out in front, 17-7.
Well, it's all about points.
Brad Kaya takes the snap, And Barrios has it across the middle for a touchdown. That was spectacular. Right on the money.
That's why you keep trying to score right there. Nice protection by that offensive line. Brad Kaya with a clean pocket. Looks to the left, knows that Braxton Barrios is on a matchup that they like, and more important than anything, Braxton comes up with a catch and then strides into the end zone.
Caught him in stride. That's going to be tough to bring down when you do that. Kaya had a very good spring game, and Braxton Barrios, last year has bobbled the snap on the extra point. But Braxton got hurt in the first game of the year, a knee injury, and while he was able to come back a few weeks later, I don't think he was ever right last season.
Well, I have to tell you, if you and I both looked at that injury on tape, and he's lucky that he's here for spring football. Forget the fact that he recovered and had the opportunity to come in and catch some footballs last year, but that thing was an inch away from being a severe knee injury that might have required another reconstructive job because he came in with some knee problems.
That's going to be it. That's the end of the spring game as they trot off toward the locker room. The green team has defeated the orange team. We'll take a break from Lockhart Stadium. Your final score, the green 24 and the orange.
Here with Mark Richt after Miami completes its spring game 24-7 for the green team. Your first spring with Miami, Mark. What were your observations from what you saw today?
I thought there were some good things on both sides of the ball. I thought the guys played hard till the end. We didn't have a lot of depth, and we actually had a running clock in the third quarter because we had a couple kids hurt. We're just about out of skilled players, basically. But we asked them to suck it up, and in the very end, they didn't have a whole lot of gas left. I didn't like a little bit of that body language, but a lot of it had to do with they were taking every single snap. So, we got to finish better in general. Even that last snap on the field, on the extra point, we drop it, lack of focus. So we got to get tougher mentally and finish better. But overall, I think they did a good job.
Brad Kaya throws 3 touchdown passes today. You've got a clear leader in him. After you've worked with him all spring, what are your thoughts on what he can do for this offense this year?
Well, it takes more than one guy, but he's a great player and a great person. He's been very coachable, teachable. I love how he's been responding to everything.
Now that you've been through a spring, what are your expectations for this team once you get him back in the fall for fall practice?
Yeah, just hard work. Just hard work.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
All right, that was Mark Richt with Adria Adelson, and spring football has concluded here at Lockhart Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. And now Mark Richt and his coaching staff will go on the recruiting trail. So Brad Kaya with 3 touchdown passes today, and that will wrap things up here. For Don Bailey Jr., I'm Joe Zagacki saying so long from Lockhart Stadium. The green team was a win today. To watch the entire game on replay as well as the other games on our family of ESPN networks, log on to watch ESPN.com. So long, everyone.